Good morning everyone and welcome to the video. This video, I'm going to be talking about a robust architecture to ingest data into Elasticsearch using Kinesis data streams, Kinesis Firehose, and essentially we connect the pipeline to OpenSearch or Elasticsearch. So I'm going to share an architecture which is extremely amazing because it can easily scale up and down, right? Because we are on cloud. At the same time, we are maintaining a copy of the data on S3. So that's that. From that, we can connect Brew. We can dump the data on the another S3 bucket. Then we can run glue crawlers and Athena on the top. Let me talk about the architecture a little bit here. This architecture essentially leverages the use of producers and consumers. Producers are the one who produces messages at a very rapid rate. These are your IoT devices, mobile phone that are generating events, or any other web application that are producing events. These events essentially would be kept in Kinesis data stream, where we will essentially partition it using shards. There is a concept of shards. So we'll partition the data stream, right? These data is gonna come to the Kinesis data stream. Once the data is in the data stream, we set up the retention period, then we essentially move to the Firehose. Firehose essentially connects with the Kinesis data streams. So here I have two blocks. I have two Firehose here. One Firehose essentially connects to the Amazon S3. Here in this Firehose is where essentially all the raw data would be dumped on an S3 bucket. From there, if you want to clean the data, you can leverage the use of AWS Brew, and we can dump into the another destination bucket. After that, we run glue crawlers, and if people wants to query the data, they can query the data using standard SQL using Athena. Some of the best practices we can follow when we are dumping data to the S3, we can leverage the use of Parquet and snappy compression, as these are well-known file formats and compression technique which works best with Athena. I have personally tested when I was working in my company. We were able to optimize and get about 50% faster queries just by changing the file format. Another things to know, if you need transformation, then this Firehose can add a Lambda. So you could transform the data in situation if you need that, but this is a very straight pipeline that essentially allows the raw data to be dumped on S3 and the glue crawler to run on the S3 and essentially populate the metadata and query via Athena. Very amazing. So now, as you can see, since we have the data, we have one more Firehose, which will straight connect to Amazon Elasticsearch or OpenSearch, where real-time the data would be dumped. Now you can build dashboards on Kibana, which means you can visualize how many events are coming every minute. You can create a time essentially you can create a time-based index, right? And you can see all the metrics coming in real time. Now things becomes very easy as your data is on S3. So that's one part where you can query the data using Athena. The second concept might be if you want to load data to the Redshift, right? Since your data is on the S3 bucket, now you can form a manifest file and essentially run Redshift copy command, and you can load all the data to the Redshift. But if you need intermediate transformation, you can leverage the use of glue, and then you can essentially dump the data back to Redshift. We also have cross-bucket replication, which means as soon as the data lands on this bucket, we want to replicate the data into another bucket in a different region for various purposes. For disaster, if something happens to that bucket or whatever happens, you have a copy of the data as a good practices. You want to set up lifecycle policies on each bucket, which means as the data gets older, essentially you transition the data to infrequent access and then ultimately to Glacier. And if you want to archive, then you can use archiving techniques to archive data from Glacier. You want to set up object locks, which means the objects wouldn't be deleted, right? If you have PII data, please make sure to use AWS KMS to encrypt the data. Firehose gives you an ability to, it essentially encrypts the data, so it does all of that behind the scenes for you. Make sure to set up proper versionings on S3 bucket, because that will allow you to essentially have multiple versions of a given object, okay? So this is essentially a simple architecture that can be used as a producer, producing messages, and now your end user, that is the data science team, business analyst or whoever they want, they can directly connect data from. You have OpenSearch, and then you have Athena as well. So if Athena has plugins for BI tools, right? So you can easily integrate your stuff with your existing BI tools. So I hope this small architecture makes sense. What I'm about to do in the next video would be, I'll try to show you a sample implementation. I'll go to the console. I'll be skipping the data stream, but what I'll do is I'll connect the Firos and OpenSearch and search and show you things in action, right? But you could leverage this architecture if you have a use case where you're ingesting data to OpenSearch. I hope this is useful for. I hope this video is useful for people. And if you have any more questions on this architecture or in general about anything on AWS, and please let me know by doing that in the comment section below. If I do not know, I will learn myself and I'll try to answer it. As I said, right, software is a field that changes every day, every minute, every second. Things are coming new and new, right? So sometimes it's hard to keep up with all this new technology, but it's not that bad. What I'm trying to say is, if you dedicate time, for example, every weekend, 2 to 3 hours, I want to study this. Okay, explore new technologies. So that's what I tend to do: set up goals and set up time for my learning objectives. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the upcoming next tutorials.